brakes. So we're going to get into the brakes today, finally. It's something that I was kind of intimidated by because I've never done it before, and brakes are very important, as you know. If you can't stop these big old rigs, then you're either going to kill someone or kill yourself. And if they don't stop properly, well, that's a scary thought, especially with all that muscle behind them. So I bought this tool, this flaring tool, and I practiced, on a couple old pieces that I cut off, some old brake line that was on the car, and I tried it like 4 or 5 times, and ultimately I finally, after doing it, I don't show all the times I tried, obviously. This is just one of the attempts. This is my first attempt, and it's really not that hard to do, but I really, it's good to know how to do it if you're going to be building hot rods. So I don't regret buying the tool, but after about 5 attempts, I did get a double flare here, and it would be, it would be acceptable. But I didn't end up going that route anyway. All right, everybody, this is one of those situations where you live and you learn. Now, I am glad that I bought the tool, the flaring tool, because I learned how to flare brake line, double flare brake line, and I bought this brake line and all that. There's like $40, in that. And I went down to the parts store to buy a fitting, to buy some of these fittings. And bam, there's pre-cut brake lines, like every length, man. And they have like perfect flares on them. They're double flares. And all these pre-cut lines add up to $10. Literally, these were like $2 a piece or $1 a piece for the shorter ones. And you live and you learn. But I could have ran all these brake lines for $10 instead of $50. All right, so obviously I had to take off the master cylinder. The old one is just a single reservoir, and I really like this, and I like the way that it all went together. It has Wilwood brake pedal and the whole assembly. I hated to have to take it off, but I just, I'm going to be driving this around. I don't trust only having, one cylinder, because if my brakes go out, they all go out. And I don't like the idea of, even it's the same way in the 58, in the Bel Air, they're set up the same way. So I'll be doing this in the 58 as well soon. But this was not easy, and I had to show a little bit of the struggle, because after, you got one end of the bolt on the inside of the car and you got the other on the outside. You need someone to, you either have to jam a wrench onto there and whatever, which is what I ended up doing, and it's worse because it's an Allen key on the inside of the car. So I had to jam that Allen key in there, and I had to go in, and it kept falling off. As you can see, it fell off like probably 100 times. I'm not even exaggerating. So I'm in and out of the car, just to get these off, and then to get the new ones on, which you'll see in a little bit. It was the same ordeal, and I seriously spent about 2 hours for this process. And I even tried to use like a clamp to hold it on there. I mean, it was a real pain. And when you don't have friends around to pop in for like 2 seconds just to help you undo a bolt, this is what you have to do when you're working solo. All right, so there's always some customization when it comes to these things. I got that guy out, which that's obviously the nicer one, but it's made for drag racing. It's only rear brakes, only single reservoir. So I had to throw this big bopper on there. And as you can see, the holes are different, but that's okay. I'm just going to drill new holes. I'm going to use the same, the same hole there for the brakes, but I have to cut like small notches out of there because, as you can see, it's slightly in the way. So I'm just gonna grind out a little bit of a notch there on the top and bottom, and then I'll rerun it and hook it all back up, and then I'll have a brake pedal, and then I'm gonna run all these brake lines. This metal, you can tell like the metal is very cheap on this reservoir, because like I grinded through it like nothing. Like it basically was like turning into dust. So, you know, it's from China. You know, you can just tell like it's not the real deal. It's not like an original. It would have taken me, you know, a lot longer. It just ate right through this like Swiss cheese. But ultimately, I'm kind of glad because it went faster. But you know, this isn't the right, you know, master cylinder for this car. None of this. All this is made up. Like I make up everything as I go. So like I just ordered this on a whim, and it came, and I made it work. I don't like that the holes are the opposite, you know, and they don't match up with the Willwood setup. But I'm just gonna have to make it work. Now, I guess, you know, a lot of people are gonna say like, dude, maybe it's time to get some new tools, maybe it's time to get some new drill bits. It was literally this firewall. As you know, firewalls aren't very thick, and it took me quite some time just to get a hole in this firewall, and I was pushing. But yeah, I need to get some new bits, man. After making those seat brackets and braces and drilling all those holes in the car, that's the same drill bit, you know, 3/8 drill bit. You know, it seems to be like a common hole for everything, and it literally, it's dull, but it worked.
So as you can see, the bolt pattern has changed to the new bolts, but the situation is the same.
You know, I just hope that this all works out. As I'm speaking, you know, obviously I need to bench bleed that. There's one of the front brakes are hooked up. I didn't film myself doing it because it was just got into the work, and it was really easy. And at this point in time, I was under the impression that I was just going to let the rear line that runs to the back just be, because, you know, it didn't seem like there was anything wrong with it, and it was just a straight brake line. But I ended up changing it out. And I try to do this as clean as possible. Like I don't want it to look, you know, all haggard and, you know, ran all crazy. Kind of jump around a little bit here as well. You know, this radiator surround has been really bothering me. You know, I just hit it with the wire brush, and I have to suck up all the rust dust. But I hit it with the wire brush, and I'm just trying to revive it any way possible, and, you know, use the old rust. I can't even remember. I can never remember what it's called, but it turns rust into primer, and figured I'd put a heavy coat on the rustiest areas and hit some other areas while I was at it, because it never hurts to protect, you know, rusty areas of your car. Even if you just spray paint over them, it's better than nothing. But in this case, I wanted to use the rust encapsulator, whatever. Because this all, you know, it's this piece is what holds my whole front end on, you know, basically. And it's solid as a rock. I had to cut that crossbeam. I didn't show that either, but I cut the crossbeam that went across the front. There was a piece that went across the bottom that wasn't allowing me to put my pulleys on the engine, and I had to cut that off. And then while I was at it, I was like, I'm just gonna clean this up the best way I can, and make it look a little more acceptable, and maybe slow down the rust process. But that's all you can do, man. It's a race against rust. I mean, rust is inevitable. It's going to happen, but it's just all, you're just constantly battling slowing it down or stopping it. There's no way to stop it, but you can slow it down. Yeah, see, it was getting pretty rough in there, and I wanted to save it, slow it down anyway before it got any worse, because I really need that piece. And they're not easy to find. There's only so many of them left in the world. When this one goes, I'm afraid I'm going to have to just fabricate one, and get it as close as I can. But like I said, this one's still, as rotted as it looks, it's solid as a rock. It's heavy, and it's pretty solid. It can hold on. This front end's pretty light. It's not very heavy. I can always add bracing to it as well in the future, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm just trying to, get the car started and stopping for now, and then I'll worry about the little details later. I also, I hit this with 5 coats. That might be overkill. This is just one coat. I don't show all 5 coats because who wants to watch that? But it looks really nice, and I hope that it holds up for many years to come. We'll see. This there's a lot of customizing. There's an intercooler in there for my transmission and everything. There's a lot of self tappers up in there, and there's a lot of customizing going on before I got this car. But it's actually not done too bad. The more I get into this, like when I first started this project, I kind of gave the guys a hard time that worked on it before me, because I didn't really understand fully, and it just looked kind of like half-assed. But the more I do, the next guy would probably say the same thing about me. I'm not doing everything to spec, everything perfectly, so these guys had the right idea, and it's not all that bad. I'm glad that he kind of did a lot of the work for me. I basically just retraced his brake lines and did everything that he did, but just with fresh brand new parts. And it's crazy, like all this time I was so intimidated to do brake lines, just like I was intimidated to weld, and just like I was intimidated to do everything. And this stuff's easy. Like I really wish that I had done this when I was younger, but it's better late than never. But the next car, when I start working on that Model A, like it's going to take half the time as this one. Could have almost kept this old one running back, and I almost did, but thank God I didn't, because if I can get it to focus, it is crimped, man, and that's unacceptable. So good thing I'm running a fresh one all the way back. I figured I'd do the fittings outside of the car, make it a little bit easier for myself instead of doing it on my back. And the reason I'm putting it in above the header is because that's where I have to make the bend, and if it was sticking out below the headers, I wouldn't be able to get it in behind there. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than this. I still have to run a fuel line, and I can't hook the rear. I have the rear brake hose that splits into 2 coming. I had to order it because the one that I had we accidentally cut us. There's a cut in it from the cutting wheel when we were cutting out the floors, and it'd probably be fine, but I don't trust it. I'm just gonna, doesn't hurt to buy a new one for $15, and so I'm gonna replace that. And I can't tie the rear brakes in yet until I weld the perches on and I get my pinion angle set and all that, and I can't do that until I bolt the transmission in. There's a transmission bolt that I'm waiting on. So everything has its order. If I had that bolt, I could set the pinion angle. I could have got this all done in one day. It would have been real easy, but that's not the way life works. But I do plan on, my goal is to have this done by summer. Not done, but have it running and stopping by summer, so I can, take it for a ride around the block. That's my goal by summertime. And I have about 4 months to, execute that goal. But I hate making goals, and I especially hate putting them on the record, because then, I don't like to set my expectations to any standard, because you run into problems, and these things take time, and they cost a lot of money, and I don't, I'm just having fun with it. I'm trying to enjoy this. So, but I think I can comfortably say that unless I have a lot of trouble with the wiring, this thing should run by summertime. There shouldn't be any reason why not, which that's going to be a whole new experience, is doing the wiring, because I've never done that before. And watching Chris from Ironhead Garage, he's on part 4 of the wiring as we speak. Well, as I'm making this video anyway, and it looks pretty complicated. He makes it look easy because he's knowledgeable, but I don't know. This is a different car, and I'm hoping that I can do it. Shout out to Chris, man. Hope you're doing all right, buddy. Car's looking sweet. It makes this car look, it makes this car look real rough. Yeah, that part of the frame must be a little more solid than the other parts, because I had a little trouble there. It's kind of scary. Nah, it was just a weird area, but I try to put them up as high as possible. That way they don't get dinged up, from rocks or whatever, debris. Like I said, I'm not going to be taking this thing off road. I'm not going to be taking this around much. I'm just going to be doing some, maybe go to a car show here and there. But there it is. And I mean, I tried to, organize it and not have it too wild. I don't have any extra, it all ran perfectly, and I hope that's all right, but we'll find out. But anyway, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.